One extreme differentiator of By the Bay Health versus other community advocates, organizations, etc., is we to this day still give, I think last year it was over $4 million back to the communities that we serve. So talk about living and breathing our true philanthropic place in the community. It's one thing to make sure that you're not thinking about shareholders and making sure that they're kind of getting the profits back, etc. But this is taking it to another extreme. This isn't just $100, $200, $1,000, a few thousand into the community. You're talking about $4 million. We are giving caregiver grants. We are making sure that patients can care for their loved ones no matter what. And we make sure that if there are barriers, we're paying for that. I know that started with you and some folks that you were building this with. How did we get started?
Well, when we started, there was no money. And I resigned my paid position at the hospital to volunteer to be a part of this hospice movement. And that was difficult personally, but it was so important to me. And we realized as we went through this that if you're going to care for people, someone has to pay something. And we developed a philanthropic community as well. And it's amazing how many people want to be involved in that way. They're not caregivers, but they are capable of donating funds, and they do, and they did. One of our biggest donors in the beginning was a senior gentleman who was most unusual, and he would walk into the office only to see me, who did not want to see anybody else, and he would give $1,500. And he said, I don't really know what you do, but I stand in line at Safeway and I hear what you do. So you're good. So he gives $1,500. And he'd come again and he'd give more. And he'd come again and he'd give more. But what I did in exchange, and a key board member that helped me a lot with the philanthropic development, is that we validated him. And we would take him to lunch. We would keep him updated on the program. And so over time, he would give little checks and we would validate and keep him updated. And when it came time for us to move one more time, because we kept moving as we were growing, I went to him and I asked him if it was possible he could consider donating the down payment on a building that we really wanted to purchase. And he had to think about it. That was his way. It was so cute. And he did. He donated a sizable down payment for this particular building. And upon his death, he completely paid for the building. And that gave us a permanent base. And that came from community. That came from a donor. And then that building was sold as we got too big for it, and bought the building where we are now. But this donor made all the difference. And so philanthropy and hospice, in my mind, go together, because we want to give to community. We want to take care of those who can't afford to pay for the care. We want to make sure that if something is needed in the home that the family can't afford, hospice can do it. And that's where our partnership with donors makes an incredible difference. Because with their support, we are able to do, I say we like I'm still there, right?
You are.
We are able to do things for patients and families that no other entity can do. And again, that's something I'm very, very proud of, is the partnership of philanthropy and hospice care. Our donors are really part of our success. A big part.
It's still alive today. It's absolutely true. So what you started has continued. Our donors are so important, and they are such a big part of our philanthropic community giving that we're able to do. I would also like to share a little something and also then ask you a question related to this. I am amazed by the deep investment of our board of directors at By the Bay Health. It is pretty magical that we have the group of directors that we do today. Some of them date back to when you were the CEO. And I guess just tell me a little bit about how we were able to cultivate a board of directors that is so invested in this organization, in the work, in the vision, the mission, in the communities that we serve.
The board of directors is like the staff selection process. As a staff person, very often, this is your mission, this is your calling, this is where you want to be. I'd say exactly the same thing for board members. Over the years, the boards that I've experienced have been invested, have been compassionate, have not been bottom line driven. They have been generous in allowing us to do what we can do. Again, with our philanthropic funds, they have urged to do program development. You are right. The boards of directors that this organization has had for its 50 years have been outstanding. And they are very often the silent members of the team. But they are all, again, so good. And, you look at trying to have a mix on the board of different types of people. And definitely one of the most important issues is that they can be compassionate and empathetic to this line of care. So the board, and also we haven't talked much about volunteers. Board members are volunteers. Yes. And then we've got, a huge core of volunteers that do many, many other things. And again, they are the members of the community they are our eyes and ears in the community. So board, volunteers, community partners, it's networking. It's about networking to the best.
Yeah. It is truly, our volunteers are the fabric of this organization, and how they weave within the communities that we serve is pretty unique. And you don't see that in many organizations, but our volunteer program runs deep throughout the organization and within the community.